Somehow the medical community has not caught up on this syndrome yet. This post-intensive care syndrome term just came 2 years ago. And before that, people like me, whenever we discharge patients and they come to our clinic and the patient complain of some vague symptoms of having inattention, memory impairments, having a lot of depression, problems with caregivers, having fights at home, and we were not able to realize what exactly is happening. So we started looking back in a standardized manner and then start identifying these things and able to contribute to the knowledge of post-intensive care syndrome. And now we are teaching the primary care physician and the intensive care unit physician that there are certain problems that will arise from their stay in the ICU. But in the intensive care unit, most of the focus is to take the patient, to have the patient survive their critical illness, to survive their septic shock, to survive their respiratory failure, so that they can be off the mechanical ventilator and then get out of the intensive care unit and go to the hospital and go to the rehab facility. There's a switch now for intensivists after learning about the post-intensive care syndrome that their work is not done while the patient is in the ICU. They need to work on the transitions of care to identify the patient, number one, at risk for developing post-intensive care syndrome. Number two, let the primary care know that the patient has developed post-intensive care syndrome or is going to develop post-intensive care, and to be on the lookout of what to do. And number three, refer them to specialized resources required for the recovery of these ICU survivors. That is one of the limitations for not instituting these collaborative care model that we have accomplished at Indiana University. And the reason is cost, because you have a physician, you have nurses, you have pharmacists. The way we got around that is to partner with the hospital, the Eskenazi Health. And Eskenazi Health was able to subsidize the clinic with the idea that because of these ICU survivors, their problems, that we would be able to manage their memory problems and their depression and their other problems associated with their pulmonary system and other systems. It will prevent rehospitalizations and emergency department visits. So it will decrease the resource utilization in the long run. And that way you can make an argument for running a follow-up clinic like our clinic. The other thing that we have achieved is we were able to integrate with the Healthy Aging Brain Center, which is the geriatric services who are providing care to dementia patients who suffer from similar problems. And we were able to house the Critical Care Recovery Center within the Healthy Aging Brain Center, utilizing their resources. So it becomes a part of the whole system as a small part. And that's how we were able to accomplish that. A clinic by itself would not be able to accommodate the number of ICU survivors coming out of the ICU. I think as the field advances, the clinic should be focusing on the survivors who are suffering from extreme morbidity. For the rest of the survivors, a mobile model of care would be scalable, implementable, and would probably be achieved at a lower cost. Something in which we can have a care coordinator assess the patient at the time of discharge, possibly go to their home after discharge, do a medication reconciliation, and then instead of the doctors and the pharmacist and everybody involved with the patient one-on-one in the clinic, in this model, the care coordinator can talk to an interdisciplinary team who can provide consultation, but have all the therapy and the self-rehabilitation performed through care coordinators at home, integrating the primary care physician of the patient. So that way, instead of a physical space, you can have a mobile team and a mobile care coordinator who would be able to provide the same care that we can provide in the clinic to a large number of ICU survivors. And then out of that, with that case identification, we can identify the ones that would benefit from coming to the clinic. So that will somehow serve the scalability of the expensive model.